Morning. It is 23 minutes after 8 o'clock. And joining us in studio this morning, some of our state representatives. On the House side, we have Minority Leader Jim Townsend joining us. Also, we have Representatives Candy Spence Ezell and Greg Nibert. And then on the Senate side, we have Senator David Gallegos with us. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Mike.
Oh, that was good. In unison. I like it.
That's the magic of these magic fingers there, Mr. Magic Mike.
How's everybody doing today?
We're good.
We're very good, but we noticed that you're kind of flat and you got a really big head, and it looks like the bottom half of you may be out to sea in some fish net.
And to be honest, that's a favor for all of us. The fact that the bottom's missing.
I've been asking him why the long face all week. He doesn't seem to get it.
Although, no one's talked about my arms. They're kind of big in that picture. I'm just saying.
You're doing that thing that bodybuilders do where you push out the bicep.
Right.
We're on to you, Mike. We know what
Well, I
you're
wasn't posing per se. It was. You have to see the picture in context. It makes sense if you saw the rest of the picture.
Oh, sure. Always makes sense in context when you're in fishnets, right?
That's right. I can explain. Well, first off, I'm sure you guys aren't here to talk about my legs the whole time.
Not the whole time.
But obviously we've got the event that's going to be talking about at 10 o'clock. Let's start there and then kind of work our way back. Talk about the event today at 10 and why we obviously want to get as many people out there as possible.
Mike, this is Greg. We have received a number of calls from people in the medical community locally and actually throughout the state expressing some concerns about the impact of the new health order on their facilities. And we're concerned about our ability to meet the medical needs of the citizens of Southeast New Mexico in light of that order. And we're going to ask the governor to look at the situation to either exempt us or to rethink her order like she did with the PED and the closing of schools this past week, and trying to make sure that our medical facilities remain open and available to our citizens for critical health care needs.
This is the part that the common sense part, that why isn't this part entered in the equation? I understand you're wanting to encourage people to get vaccinations. I get it. I get what you're doing. And to be honest, as a government, you want to encourage, you want to, ask, you want to beg. Shoot, you can even incentivize. I don't care. But as far as mandating and certainly firing people because they refuse in not just a job that's like not only essential but front line, where's the common sense at all in any of this? I mean, I know it's a government operation, but come on, right?
You're right, Mike, and I think Representative Ezell always talks about common sense, and she can probably weigh in on this.
We were all like all eyes on Candy because she was taking notes. We were like, oh, she's getting ready. She's gearing up. Hold on. Let me get my good pen. Hold
That's
on.
it. That's
There's a
it.
tapping tongue.
And Mike, you know as well as anybody else, there's a lack of common sense whenever things are going on in Santa Fe, unfortunately. And whenever you're talking about incentivizing people, that's the same as bribery, isn't it? I mean, $100, go get your shot. I just really have a problem with these mandates and how we're going about achieving her goal on what she wants to have done in our state.
Sure. Well, I mean, just the safety factor. I mean, for a second, take the making everybody get your vaccines, but to say, hey, you're a front-line healthcare worker helping people. You're talking about our healthcare is overwhelmed already, short-staffed even before COVID came into the picture. And now you're saying I've got people that are qualified and willing to work, but because they don't feel comfortable getting a vaccine, you're not going to let them work. And matter of fact, you're going to fire them and prevent them from earning a living. If that doesn't scare people, I don't know what will.
What is the difference between now and the last go round whenever she shut everything down? What is the big difference there? Well, at risk then, yes, they were at risk then. But to say, if you don't do this, we will fire you. We've had too many horror stories about what they have been, a lot of these healthcare workers are now facing as far as their ability to be able to finish out their tenure of work without being canned.
Sure.
And Davis and Jim both have told us stories regarding quite a few of these workers.
This is David
something.
Gallegos. I was going to bring up, I appreciate you showing the difference between encourage and mandate, because that's the thing we're on now, is the mandate. But one of the really bad things is last year, these same people were our heroes, and now they're the villains. And it's just not right to force them to lose their jobs. And I understand that Friday will be the D-Day, that if they're not able to do their job the way she wants it, then they will be out of work, unemployed. They're willing to go to Texas. Jim and I have been talking to, I've actually talked to 8 CEOs statewide, and their staff are ready to leave the state to renew operations in Texas or other places. And same with the docs. They're looking at this. They've been looking at this all year long. They knew it was coming, and they're prepared to take a stand against the governor and leave our state. But it ultimately hurts the rest of the residents in New Mexico. I can almost guarantee you the governor's still going to have a doctor and nurse at her bedside as needed, but it's the rest of us who are going to do without.
What are you hearing any repercussions for or blowback for actual hospitals that are refusing to fire staff for not getting vaccinated? Has that talk been or the warnings come out yet?
Hey, Mike, this is Jim. I would tell you that there are a number of administrators that are at a perilous point. They know that they are going to deprive their citizens of health care if they choose to follow this mandate, because they're going to have people leave. They may have to cease operations. There are hospitals in our state now that are looking at what happens. I mean, how am I going to provide care, adequate care for these people? Nursing homes are looking at reducing, they are categorizing their patients so that they would know which ones to dismiss first. We just saw a note this morning from Norley and over in Lee County, and they are curtailing and reorganizing some of their operations. They're shutting down their OR this morning. You know, it's really hard what these guys are up against, and I think probably the most disingenuous portion of this is that you rely on these trained medical professionals, and you know that they're the people that you need to go to for all of this care. And now we have a political jab that says you're not smart enough to know what's good for you. We're going to mandate that you take this vaccine, and it just goes on and on. I mean, think about what's going on at the state fair. I mean, the day before they had a statewide event in the same facility. They did not require vaccinations, but the very next day, when rural New Mexico shows up with their annual state fair, everyone that goes in has to have a vaccine. I mean, that's part of the problem in New Mexico today, is this has been so politicized that no one believes the government. They distrust the government, and they believe this is all a political ploy, and they're not playing anymore.
Yeah, this is the big problem. I would even say that, okay, you're looking at the requirements for, if you made it the same across the board, you can at least, you may not like it, but at least understand. But you're exactly right here. When you look at the fair and the mandates that they're requiring for that, but then you look at something else equally as large, like a balloon fiesta or something like that, and they're not putting those same restrictions. That screams political to me, anyway. I don't know about anybody else, but that you're right. That's that distrust, and it's like, do you really care about us, or do you really care more about screwing the other guy? And that's what it feels like.
And Mike, Jim touched on a really deep concern that we all feel, and that is the impact to rural New Mexico. We feel these policy decisions maybe much more acutely than does the larger cities. If Hobbs, New Mexico loses doctors and nurses because they can get jobs in Seminole 30 miles away, they've not only lost them temporarily, they've probably lost them permanently. If Roswell, New Mexico has to shut down our surgery center like Hobbs just did, and you have a heart attack, where are you going to go? You have a 3-hour drive in front of you to get medical care. People will die. People will be seriously harmed by these policies. And I know the overall effort is to save people, but we are instituting policies in rural New Mexico that are going to prohibit their ability to seek and secure adequate medical care. And that is what we are fighting for, is to get the governor to look at the policy and to try to put some common sense into it so that our folks in rural New Mexico don't have to face those life and death challenges that are likely to result as a result of this policy.
As far as what the citizens, the community, I mean, obviously it starts by coming out to events like the one happening here at 10 o'clock today. But, and I mentioned this yesterday when I was talking to the mayor, something that in the past has been helpful to all of you when you go to Santa Fe is to take as much ammunition with these stories of what's happening in the hospitals, what's happening in people's homes and businesses. Is that still something you guys need to help fight this? And is there more that the John and JQ public can do to help support you guys and to help raise more awareness for what's going on here?
Absolutely, Mike. I mean, I would encourage everyone to voice their opinion, write a letter to the editor, come down here and get on Mike Winter's radio show.
Come on in.
Tell people what are the issues that are facing. I mean, this is not. I mean, here is a statement out of a press release from Lee County this morning, and it says, "We now have had both COVID and non-COVID patients die waiting for ICU."
Wow.
Now, that's pretty darn potent. I mean, when you have an administrator say that this is not something we should do or we shouldn't do, or I can provide better care, he's saying that people are losing their lives because of the inability to provide care. My daughter is a nurse, and she works in the ER field and has recently changed into the cath labs. But I would tell you that it is amazing to watch the amount of stress, the emotion, the anguish that these professionals feel on a daily basis. They actually see the inability to perform causing the loss of life. And it's a heavy weight on those folks. And to tell them now that they don't have the intelligence to choose, and that, to me, that's the biggest deal. It's the personal choice to, if I go out and get in my car and I want to put my seatbelt on, I can put my seatbelt on. If I don't, I don't. And I understand the risk associated with it. In this area, we have people They help their kids rodeo. They help their kids go play football. They help their kids do all sorts of things that have risk associated with it. So today it's a COVID shot. Tomorrow, what is it? I mean, what else aren't you smart enough to make the right choice of?
Exactly. And that's kind of been my thing on this too. And as I said it earlier, it's, sure, recommend it, beg, plead. I don't even, yeah, it's wrong, but I don't care. If you want to say, hey, I'll give you $100 if you go get a shot. Okay. I'm not the big fan of it, but that beats the alternative of saying, you know what, you either get it or you'll not be employed, or you cannot function in society almost. And like you said earlier, and I think it was Greg that mentioned that especially down in Lee County in the southeast part there, they're going to go get jobs in Texas. They're going to be just fine. We're the ones in trouble. And this could be easily fixed by just saying, no, this ain't going to work. We need to come up with something else. And it's going to be scary if you do get that mass exodus and you start seeing death tolls and things rolling up, and inability for our hospitals to treat these folks, which, they're having troubles now. Take that times 10 when you have to dismiss a large percentage of your healthcare force because they can't get a shot or won't get a shot. It's just dumb. I mean, to me, this is all right. You didn't win. You didn't get them to get a shot. Try something else. You're not really going to fire them, are you? That's just dumb. And I'm getting scared that's like they're not going to back off just out of spite at this point. I don't know.
Well, how much control is she going to have over the population in New Mexico? I guess she's striving for total control over our lives in every aspect, and that's really troublesome. Whenever you're talking about incentivizing, to me, like I said earlier, it's bribery. Let's get this done. But to mandate, I have a problem with somebody telling me I have to do this in spite of my better judgment, in spite of my ability to do a little bit of research and make the decision on my own whether I want to have this vaccination. Or if I have young kids, I don't want somebody telling me what I have to have my kids.
Well,
Have this shot given to my kids. That is not their choice. We have heard the governor say, and this is in regard to some legislation year before last, my body, my choice. Well, doesn't this hold true for us as well?
Yeah, the arguments seem to they don't. It's very hypocritical. This whole thing is just it's do as I say, not as I do, and it's not even hidden anymore. It just seems bold and blatant. And to be honest, there's nothing to stop it without enough people standing up and saying, we've had enough of this. And, at this point, if you can't do it in the roundhouse, then the court of public opinion is a very strong place to get things happening in the roundhouse. And if that's the avenue we have to take, then so be it.
But Mike, it's so hypocritical. I mean, last year during the session, I'm sure you watched. I mean, Greg and I sat there with masks on with the rest of the Republicans that showed up, and we were the only ones hardly that showed up in the roundhouse. But we sat there with the speaker, with the majority leader, and a few others on the D side, and we wore a mask through the session. And then when the bell rang and we all got off, we walked out of the chambers, we took our mask off, we shook each other's hands, we hugged each other's wife, and we went to the bull ring and had dinner sitting around the same table without the mask on. And it is so disingenuous. I mean, it's so hypocritical that you sit there and you act like under the camera that this is highly contagious and we have to show people how to do it. But as soon as you get off camera, you shake hands, you hug each other's wife, you talk about, what's going on, and you walk down the street hand in hand and go to the bull ring and have dinner. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Sure.
And on
It
St.
is.
Patrick's Day, we were in the speaker's office
Yeah.
without our mask on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a joke.
It's basically the
It
TSA. It's like security theater. You know, it's there to make you feel safer, not necessarily do anything.
And you know, when the government loses sight that their most sacred responsibility is protect the public, and when the public loses trust that the government believes that their most sacred responsibility is to protect the public, chaos will ensure. And you know, you can see that happening in Albuquerque today. I mean, it's just absolutely chaos. I mean, we write a letter to the governor on one day, trying desperately to get her to call us back into session so we can help her address the problem in Albuquerque. I mean, we have officers calling every one of us, telling us about how bad it is. The very next morning, unfortunately, there are 4 officers shot. You can't get her to do anything. I mean, she's out mandating something for the state fair and letting the city burn in the side. So it's crazy.
Well, Mike,
gotta-
we're
sorry.
having this press conference at 10 o'clock at the front steps of the courthouse, and it will be a 30-minute press conference because the American Legion riders are coming through town at 10:30, and so they will drown the politicians out, and we'll have to close it down. But we do want to send a long and strong and unified message to the governor that Southeast New Mexico is on the precipice of dire straits if this policy is fully implemented and disallows healthcare workers from entering the facilities to take care of our sick and the people who need medical services.
Absolutely. I want to ask, and I ask this in the hopes of a glass half full type scenario. Obviously, you 4 individuals have worked pretty tirelessly on the minority side of many things going on in the House and in the Senate here over the years. Looking at what we're doing and what we're seeing in the state, are you seeing some of your more progressive constituents getting some heat now, where they're saying, you know, where you guys might get some help in the next election cycle here? I mean, do you feel like this could be a win for the conservatives at the end of the day?
Mike, people are fed up with having every aspect of their life being controlled by somebody else. And this is just another example of what's going on. There, like Jim said earlier, there's no trust from the public as far as the government goes. Why would there be? They have been lied to. They have been told to do this and to do that. To what end? They're being told how to raise their kids, what they can do as far as their child's education goes. And it's gotten out of control, and people are fed up.
Yeah.
Be right.
Well, hopefully,
Candy is,
vote up
you
enough.
know, just looking at the different, I think this is statewide. I don't think it's one party or the other. I think everyone is totally fed up, regardless if you're in Albuquerque or if you're here in Lee County or here in Roswell. You look at it, I got a note this morning from some of the workers at the state pen. In their 19th year of employment, they have 1 year left to retire, and Friday will be given termination papers because they're not going to be vaccinated. I don't know if this person's Republican or Democrat. They don't care. They're looking at what's going to happen for the rest of their lives if they lose that job come Friday. So I think this crosses all party lines. It's just the state of New Mexico is just tired of our abuse. We're looking for something different. And I think it changes the game going forward for the House. I really do, because there's a lot of people trying to figure out how do we change New Mexico politics. And it starts there.
Well, I hope so. I hope the silver lining in all this is I just like to get some balance. I mean, we haven't forget a conservative ideology. Let's just get to the middle, and then we can work from there.
What it's got to take, Mike, it can't be this bullying that we have had to put up with for several years now, coming from the Speaker of the House, and he was on a power trip. He still is, and it's his way or no way as far as what we're able to do in the House. as Greg said earlier and Jim said earlier, whenever we were in session earlier in the year, the Republicans were there, and there were 2, maybe 3 or 4 on the other side of the aisle. Yet we had to have the petitions up between us all. We had to have the mask on. We were chastised if our mask slipped below our nose. We were treated as bad children. Yet we were there doing the job that we were supposed to be doing. And the others were somewhere else and still getting a paycheck. So anyway.
And to see, Candy, I'll just interrupt. I really liked watching the way things opened up this year. It was an honor to get the divide between the House and Senate was so far. It was an honor to get escorted off the House floor because I'm a senator. So I really, truly believe as things change, we may have the next Speaker of the House in this mess right here with the 4 of us. So I think New Mexico's going to change. I think they're realizing it, and I think we've got a good future ahead of us. We just got to get through this next couple of years.
Awesome. We're running out of time, but I do want to ask this question, and I know it probably needs a lot more time, but it's kind of a story that's been developing. I know, Jim, I think you shared it on your Facebook. I know it's been on ours, but down in Eddy County, Carlsbad area, with the federal government and the contractors and some buildings being purchased and things being done, and people are thinking it's by the federal government, and they thinking that this could be some of the refugee stuff. Is there any updates or anything that we can share with anybody that you guys are aware of?
You bet, Mike. Thank you for bringing that up. It's very important to the folks in southern Eddy County today. It appears that is 100% true. There have been conversations going on for more than a month about that. We know now. I have talked to people that have been involved in developing the protocol for that facility. The county commissioners in Eddy County have come out and said they know it to be factual. But what I know and can report is that I've been told that facility is to be set up for 1,000 families. The families must have a child 5 years old or less. That the COVID rate runs between 15 and 30% positive. There are people right over this facility is in the city limits of Carlsbad. And COVID is just one of the issues that come from third world countries. So it's more than just that. But it is certainly very hard for a community to buy into something that they believe they've been railroaded into, that it happens in the dark of night, that happens in one of the back rooms and a deal is cut. And, people know about it and they don't divulge it. And then at the last minute when they see the buses being unloaded, they say, oh, well, we couldn't do anything. Well, the one thing they could have done and should have done is to inform their constituents that it's happening and let those people make decisions and contact their other elected officials. So it is, I believe that it was 100% accurate. It's been verified by county commissioners and some others. So it's the bad thing is, very probably, it's coming to a community near you. It's Carlsbad today, to Roswell tomorrow. Mm-hmm.
Well, another reason why 10 o'clock is that much more important here today. Looking at, hey, let's bring more people in that are potentially exposed, and let's take away people that could potentially help them. So more sense being made there.
Mike, we're pleased to hear that you're on the mend finally. As I know you've had a tough couple days, if I can spit it out, but glad to hear that you're feeling better today and hope you continue to recover.
Yeah, today's the first day I felt better than I did the day before. So I think a couple more days of this, and I'll be back being annoying in studio.
For what it's worth, his Sean is aching like a dog right now.
Been running between two studios all morning.
Yeah, he's an unsung hero this week.
That's the thing, though. There's been plenty of singing, so I can't really even say I'm an unsung hero because I'm trying to get people to sing as much as possible.
I
yeah,
want
that's
you to
right.
be an unsung hero. Thank you very much for spending time with us. And anytime you guys need on, please just let me know, and we're here to help.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate
Mike.
that, Mike.
All right, stay safe, guys, and Godspeed. Good luck for the next decisions ahead here.
Get well.
Will do. All right, it is 8:50.